Welcome back to the Neo Marketing Podcast. On this episode, we're going to talk about how to craft messages that resonate.
Welcome to the Golden Group Neo Marketing Podcast, a bi-weekly discussion of modern business communication.
Welcome back. I'm Pritch Pritchard here with Kyle Golding, and today we're going to talk about messages that resonate. And I think it's a particularly important time to talk about those kinds of things.
It absolutely is, as much as happening in a very immediate short term with the effects of coronavirus and how it's affecting businesses. You still have to think long term,
right,
because what's going on now, not temporary in like this week, but it will go through a process and we'll get back to normal. And so going along with messaging is going to be highly important.
Absolutely. And it occurs to me, this is in my Crisis Comm class this week, we discussed this topic. From that perspective, it's good in terms of media interviews, but I'm going to take a turn on this and say that this is also good for employee communication, which I think is absolutely critical right now.
100%. I completely agree with you. I can't wait to explore that. And it's one of the things that I think too many business leaders forget. They get so focused on external communication, they forget the internal communication, and it's a big aspect of running a really successful business.
Absolutely. And I know we'll get some pushback. Small businesses, I got to lay people off. It doesn't mean you stop talking to them.
No.
And in fact, this is the time to
Even
build that goodwill.
That's right. And I've got some horror stories, if we have time later, about people not communicating well when making hard decisions, and people who have communicated well, and it's going to build loyalty. So there's always a right way and a wrong way to do it. But right now, everything's under a microscope,
yep,
and so you really have to do it the right way.
Right, exactly. And so I'll credit the author that I use in class, Brad Phillips, and the media trainer's Bible, Little B. He came up with a mnemonic to help us understand.
Okay, gotta love that.
How to craft. Yeah, I like that. Any
makes
memory
it easier,
tool,
right? Yeah,
exactly. And what he's come up with is Cube A.
Cube A. Okay.
So it's 5 terms. We'll go through each of those in turn and see what you think.
Okay.
The first C is for consistent.
I love
That
that.
means your message has got to be consistent,
For
and you
sure.
have to repeat it a lot. You know, advertisers talk about advertising frequency.
Sure.
How many times they're going to have to run an ad before the idea sticks. Phillips says it takes 7 to 15 exposures to move people from unawareness to action. That's a lot of repetition.
Actually, so that's kind of traditional thought.
Right.
Man, I think it's a lot more than that.
Oh,
these
I do
days.
too, with the clutter.
But there's a ton of clutter and noise. I think, though, a little bit of that is tempered with the medium that the message is being delivered. Obviously, a Super Bowl ad one time has got a different impact than consistent messaging. But the traditional 7 to 15, I think, is way more than that these days.
I agree.
Which is why I think consistency is so important.
Even more important.
Yes.
If you don't like that number, you want a higher number, it's even more important. It puts it all in caps,
I
right?
you, I would call it 2 to 3 times that.
Yeah, probably.
And
Exactly.
honestly, and if you're in a full digital, just full social media mode, it's 10 times that.
And the point is that if you change your message all the time, you're creating more noise in the system.
You're actually doing yourself a disservice as opposed to a service.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that consistency applies across all platforms. So
Yes. Absolutely.
In speeches, on your website, in social media, everything.
Yes.
All of those messages have to be consistent.
100%.
So that's C.
Got it.
Okay. The U is for unburdened.
Okay.
Okay. Memory studies show that we forget a vast amount of what we hear and see. And one study I saw said within days, have to make your messages free of wordiness, free of jargon,
Of course.
and free of abstractions. And we'll talk about that in just a second.
Simple is always the best way to communicate.
Absolutely. You know, the more the message tries to say, the less it's going to be memorable, right? So my general guideline to my students, and I would give this to any business owner today, no more than 2 commas in the message.
Okay, I like that. I got you.
Contain no more than 30 words.
Are we going to have a debate about the Oxford comma? Maybe another time. Maybe another. It could be a whole show. We could do a whole show on that. I have strong feelings.
Yes, yes.
And other people do.
I know you do.
Well, let's skip that. Let's skip that for now.
I do too. I just put it in the closet and forget about it. So no more than 30 words, and it should evoke concrete images, right?
Yes.
And don't try and jam too much into one message.
For sure.
if your message is if you've got too many details, you need to start weaning them right away.
Yes, primary and secondary. And primary is the message. Secondary is what you hit them with when they begin interaction with you.
Right.
The initial contact doesn't have to tell them everything, just enough to get them to look further.
And in terms of jargon, don't use it.
Try not to as much as possible.
Even if you think people understand it in context, they're not going to listen to the last half of what you're saying because they're still trying to figure out that word.
The flip side of too much jargon is too much slang.
Exactly.
And same thing, because not everyone takes it in and understands the meaning of it the same way. That's the whole point of slang, is there's some looseness to it. So try to avoid it.
And the other piece of that unburdened is to avoid abstractions. And an abstraction, an example of that would be justice. How many words is it going to take you to try and explain that to somebody who doesn't understand it? Right. Better to say, we're going to put people who rob old ladies in jail for 20 years.
Done.
Okay, done. So that's you, unburdened. Yes. B is for brief.
Okay.
Only one sentence.
That is as brief as it gets.
Messages should be only one sentence. And again, going back, less than 30 words, only 2 commas, free of abstractions and jargon.
Think of a tagline, right?
Exactly.
A tagline is a single sentence, business name, logo, tagline. If you can't sum up right there what it is, or at least, again, creating enough interest for someone to look further, then you fail.
I absolutely support that. The message has to be a fully formed idea, though.
Yes.
Where a slogan is that bumper sticker kind of thing. Right. And there's a place for slogans.
Sure.
But what I'm talking about now is constructing those initial messages. Mm-hmm. So keeping it a fully formed idea, but only one sentence.
The beauty of having one sentence is, when we go back to our C for consistency, is that's a starting place every single time, is that sentence. If it was a whole paragraph, you got to start the whole paragraph and then getting into the message of the day. You've gone too far.
Right.
A single sentence and then message of the day or sub-campaign or random, all the things that come under the headline can be put next to one sentence.
Right, exactly. It's the inverted pyramid concept, right? Get your most important point first. It's interesting. The Harvard Center for Media and Public Affairs did a study some time ago, and they found that the average quote on the evening news was, get this, 7.8 seconds. That's about 18 words.
That's really brief. Actually, if you told someone to give us your quote in 7 seconds, they would feel so constricted and so nervous they couldn't do it.
Right. And usually you don't, because they cut it in the edit bay, right?
Right.
But the point is about 18 words. And if you look at a newspaper, 8 to 20 words on a quote.
Yeah.
So we're still in that 30.
That's hard for people like me that just talk. That's why we have podcasts. We can just talk, and we don't have to worry about editing ourselves at all.
Exactly. So I recommend cut your message in half and then cut it in half again.
I like it.
And that'll get you down to brief. Okay. E is for earworthy. Earworthy.
Okay.
Right? We write for the ear.
Yeah,
we don't write for the eyes necessarily. So use short words.
Yeah.
Avoid multisyllabic words like multisyllabic.
That's a good one.
There's that college degree at work. And short sentences. Again, if you're a student of history, you'll note that the most memorable lines of great speeches were less than 20 words.
Absolutely.
So be Lincoln, man.
We just
Abraham.
had the Ides of March. Et tu, Brute. Hey, right there.
Right there.
3 words.
It's also interesting that I read another study that said that most adults can understand 96% of all spoken or of all English with a vocabulary of about 2,000 words.
Oh, okay.
So all those vocabulary tests you did in high school and junior high and elementary, good for you. You got extra.
Well, and there's there's a place for deeper, I don't want to say stilted language, but more developed language, and that's when you get into white papers and research and academic pieces. And there's a place for that in the world, but in mass communication, absolutely not the place for it.
Right, absolutely. So everyday words, right? You don't have to go past that 2,000 words.
No.
And contractions, because again, we're writing for the ears.
Right.
Don't, as opposed to do not, which looks good in those white papers, right?
Yes.
There, as opposed to they are. Right?
I have a bad habit of that. Actually, I think when I write, I end up being a little bit too formal in my writing style, in my marketing, communication writing. And I end up a lot of times on sort of, you write a draft and a second draft and a third draft, right? Typically my third or fourth draft too, I am going through and saying, this sounds very formal. And I've got, and adding contractions out of those formal, you are, they are, we are, does help take something from too formal to more casual. And that's one of the things I actively have to work on because I have a bad habit of not using contractions.
Well, thanks, Lead, turning that the last point on Earworthy, and that is read it out loud when you get it done.
Absolutely.
And then take all that stuff that doesn't roll immediately off of your tongue out of it.
And then read it out loud to someone who didn't write it.
Right. Exactly.
Or 2 or 3 people who didn't.
Yeah, that's what good friends, spouses, and significant others are for.
Sure.
Absolutely.
If you, it's the old Einstein's explanation that if you can't explain what you're doing to a 9-year-old, then you're not an expert at it.
Not an expert.
Right. So yeah, if you read it out loud to someone who's not connected,
right,
and or doesn't know the intimate details of it, and they don't get it, you haven't done your job.
You haven't done your job. Go back to the drawing board. Exactly. So that's E. The last is A, and A is for audience focused.
Okay.
And I wish I could remember who made this because I'd like to give them proper credit. Easy for me to say.
Well, maybe we'll figure it out by the time we post this. We'll have it in the links below.
There we go. Maybe so. I don't
somewhere
know.
Somewhere in the comments, we'll try to help you. And if we don't, if you know, tell us.
Exactly.
If we need to credit you, we will.
Right.
Sorry.
The acronym is WiFM.
Okay. Yes.
Capital W, little I, capital F, capital M, which stands for what's in it for me.
That's right.
Exactly. This is audience focused. So
what's in it for me and the not in my backyard.
NIMBY.
Right, NIMBY. Right. Those two often come on attitudinally in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Either I don't want it because it's not good for me, or I'm willing to do it if it's good for me.
Well, and again, this audience focused thing, half of your message has to address audience needs and preferences.
Well, and for sure. You know how big I am on an audience.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
The whole point of any communication is the audience, is who you're communicating to. So you have to take them into account 100%.
You got to understand because they needs and values is what I meant as opposed to, preferences are in there as well. But needs are the Maslow hierarchy of kind of things.
Right. Safety, health.
Yep, exactly.
Nutrition.
Family, security.
Right.
And then values, which are those guiding principles that people in communities use, like patriotism and compassion, self-reliance, collaboration. So you have to pay attention to those things, and they need to be included in the message.
Yeah.
One last point on this, and that is features versus benefits.
Yes, and this is an absolute for someone who works in marketing and has had for years and years and years. One of the major differences when you work with clients who are less experienced and less understanding of how real marketing works, they want to go straight to features and benefits, sell on price. This is the used car, right? Come on down. I got so many cars for $19.95, right?
Right.
Real positive, effective marketing and marketing communication isn't focused so much on the what you get for what you pay for, but it's more about motivation
and benefits. Yeah.
Right.
And that, so.
Don't tell someone what it is. Tell them what it does for them.
Yes. Exactly. A couple of examples. It's wonderful. The iPhone will automatically take daylight savings time on, and you don't have to worry about it.
I'm so happy you went to an Apple example because I always go to Apple examples when I talk to marketing.
Yeah.
When I do marketing talks, people always ask, right, what's a great example of great marketing? Brilliant marketing. Apple is brilliant marketing because you don't see TV commercials. I got to take this back. I saw this one recently, and we'll get into that sidebar in a second. Apple doesn't run their mainstream marketing as this laptop is $19.95.
Right.
They run it on what can you do with this laptop? What can you do with this iPhone?
And
what can you do with
lifestyle
right?
choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The iPod isn't about how many songs it holds; it's what you do with it when you carried it around. Remember iPods, folks, before everything was on your phone. All of those things. Even now, their associated products like Beats headphones and stuff like this. It's about lifestyle. It's about what it does for you. It's the benefit, not the you get X number of technical specs for so many dollars you spend.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
did actually see an email recently from Apple that had a price listed on it. and I was shocked.
Oh, dude.
Maybe the Steve Jobs to Tim Cook transition has finally come about because and this was before coronavirus, so
Right.
it wasn't in reaction to that at all. And it was an email, and so it wasn't a mass marketing. I mean, it was, but it was tailored because it was email. But to see a price listing on an Apple marketing piece, it took me aback.
Yeah.
Because they just don't do it.
Yeah.
They tell stories, they show benefit, and they lead you down the path of what it is you do with it. And at that point, it's not about price. It's about how much you want it.
Right. It's not feeling stupid or waking up and being embarrassed at arriving in church late because the clock changed.
That, right?
That's the feature.
Right.
The benefit is I'm not going to get embarrassed. I'm not going to be late. So there we go. Cube A.
I like it.
And while this was presented to the class as the way to craft your communication points for media interviews, I think this goes across the board.
This is a great guiding document.
I think this will help in your internal communication,
Yes.
Employee communication. I think you can adapt this to just about anything, including our everyday life,
Yes.
right?
Or even interpersonal communication. Yeah,
Interpersonal
exactly. When you think
communication.
about how to communicate well, it goes back to these same basic ideas, keeping it simple, thinking of your audience, avoiding language that maybe isn't understandable, all of these, and presenting value. All of these things go into any kind of conversation you have with anyone, whether it's one person, your team, your department, your business, all your employees, the people that you do business with, and then obviously your audience that you sell to or that are customers and clients of yours.
So there you go. That's what I got today. We hope you enjoyed it. If you've got comments, if you know who created the WiFM acronym,
let us know.
Okay, please
We can't
let us
remember
know.
right now.
Right. Don't forget to click, share, and send us your comments. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, ciao.
Smash that subscribe button. Good luck.